Okay, I'll just go ahead and start. My name's Natalie. Just a little bit of background. Instead of jumping right into new construction, I've got a bachelor's degree from UK that I got in 2004. I got my real estate license right after that in 2006. Got my master's from Sullivan in 2012, and I joined this awesome brokerage in 2015. And in that whole time frame, I represented three different builders. Beazer Homes was a national builder, is a national builder that was in this state as well as some surrounding states in that age bracket. And that's when Crystal Tao and I worked together from 2006 to 2008. I put my license in escrow during that downturn and then came back out and worked for Andover Construction in 2014 and 15. And then most recently represented James Monroe Homes also with Andover and James Monroe Homes with both with Crystal Tao, Cassie Beach, and Jen Hawkins. So not currently with a builder, but I've obviously worked enough of it that I know what I'm doing for the most part. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And just briefly, this is my husband, Ryan, and my two kids, because you got to show off your kids. So we live in Lexington. I mean, come on. We live in Lexington. I kind of like working in the downtown campus area. That's where I live. So if anybody ever has any questions about that area, feel free to reach out. And then we'll get right into it. So the new construction contract is 7 pages versus our 5-page resale contract. A lot of it is the same, but also what most builders do is they also have an addendum, their own contract. So a lot of times you won't even use this. Some of the larger builders, for example, Ball Homes, the new one, Dalamar, that Gina Wright is representing, they have their own contracts. And the one with Gina that I just went over with her is 52 pages long. Wow. So a lot of their stuff, it incorporates all that's in these 7 pages, but it's just a lot of extra that pertains to that particular builder. And a lot of times it ends up being the same. But I'm going to go over this contract and kind of hit the high points of what their contracts say as well. So we're going to start on the first part. This is just the populate with the information you're used to putting in. The price is going to be the base price plus any structural features. And then you'll have the full address plus the lot number. The builder will tell you what that is. Paul, can you move that bar over, or is that me? It's kind of hiding my screen. Okay.
Wait, which bar? Oh, this.
Yeah.
Oh, you can minimize it.
Can I do that?
Yeah, like right. See the little minimize button.
Thank you. Okay, so this is going to be the base price plus the structural features. And then, of course, your real estate company and theirs, as well as the full property address, and the builder will tell you the lot number. Now, the structural features sheet will be offered to you by the builder, and those will include things like if they want a fireplace, if they want to add a finished room, like a loft or something like that, that's not in the base price of the floor plan. Also, most builders do not include a refrigerator in their appliance package. So if it's a spec home, a lot of times they'll throw it in, but just be aware and tell your client that for whatever reason, all the builders got together and said, hey, we're not going to include the fridge. That's going to be extra. So when you go to build a new home, a lot of things are going to be extra, and you just need to be transparent and tell your client that from the get-go. That's what always seems to work best for us. The next portion is the earnest money and cash advance. So for new construction, unless it's a spec home, you don't usually take earnest money. You take a cash advance. So normally we just leave this part blank or cross it out. The cash advance is going to be written in here, and it's going to be non-refundable. Okay, so it's usually 5% of the contract price. So that is 5% of what the price was at the beginning, and it's to be offered with the accepted contract. So builder doesn't, think it's completely done until they have that 5% in their hand. Now, is non-refundable based off all the things like an escrow would be non-refundable. Okay. So if your financing falls through, things like that, you can get that cash advance back. Okay. So this is section 4. This is very similar to A and B is similar to what our resale is. The cash and new financing section will remain the same. Now, you still must apply, and it says it in the resale contract, you still must apply with the loan for within 5 calendar days. But what is different here with new construction is I would shop for lenders that are well-versed in new construction. A lot of lenders don't do new construction very often, and they don't know how to lock in a rate. They don't know, maybe they don't have the products that some other lenders do. So I would highly recommend shopping for lenders that have done this more times. Now, when you work with larger builders that do more production, like the Ball Homes, they finance the loan through the construction process. So it's basically like closing on a regular house. You just need to know when to lock in the rate, because the construction process can be, right now it's up to 12 months because of, shortages. But you need to have somebody that knows what they're doing. The builder can delay construction without the proof of financing, and they can contact your lender, and it remains contingent upon financing with the exception of a rate lock. So if for some reason your lender doesn't lock in your rate and the rate jumps up quite a bit at the end, that is not going to be a way to get out of the loan or the contract with the builder. You still are, if you can't afford it or whatnot, if you didn't lock your rate, that is on you and the lender. So you need to make sure your clients stay on top of that. Proration remains the same. Construction time frame. Now, construction will not begin as soon as you write the offer and it's accepted. Construction will begin after you sign off on all your selections and you've met with the builder and you've done your pre-construction meeting and everything is signed off on. They might start pulling permits. They might start digging the footers, but that's about it. So time is of the essence when it comes to getting this stuff done, because they just won't start. And so that's going to delay the process of your construction. And most clients, most buyers want to just get done and be quick. They want to be in their brand new house. So you're going to want to ask the builder, what's your time frame right now? Now, 2 years ago, we were getting things done 6 months post selections. Right now, I put 10 months up there. Most people are saying 10 to 12 months to finish the construction process. And I've put a little box around the shortages of materials or labor, because that's really playing in right now as to what we're dealing with. 2 years ago, it wasn't. Right now, it certainly is. So you can ask people doing remodels. I think going back to Crystal, who's a good friend of mine, she has been waiting on a range for about a year. Just a range, just an oven for about a year. So it really is important to go ahead and get all this stuff done so they can start. Plans and specifications. So that will be included in the addenda of the contract. So the floor plan, the price sheet, the elevation, the standard features, the lot, all that'll be in the addenda later on in the contract. Materials and labor. And please stop me and ask any questions. I know I'm just talking right now, if you have any. Materials and labor. The builder will provide all of the labor and all the materials for the home. Many, many times people will ask, hey, I've got this cool light fixture, or I've got this fan or something like that. Can I have your guys put it in? 9 times out of the 10, the answer is going to be no. And the answer is going to be no, because builders don't want to warrant that stuff. They don't want, and also they don't want their guys to break it. So if you have an antique light fixture or something that your great aunt passed down to you and it gets broken, they don't want that on them. So 9 times out of 10, it's a no, and that's why. Also, if they do allow, they're not going to warrant it. So if the fan breaks a month in, you can't call them and say the fan broke, because that was your fan. So that's why they do that. Supervision. The builder will supervise. A lot of times your client's going to want to go check on the process and Sure, they're welcome to go by and check on the process, but they're not allowed to tell the subcontractors what to do. They're not allowed to go on. They're not supposed to go on site without a representative because OSHA standards. They don't want anything falling on their heads. They don't want anyone to get hurt. They don't want kids stepping on nails. I mean, it's a very dangerous spot to be at. I had extra insurance on my tires for when I worked for these builders because I would get pop tires all the time. So if you ever work for a builder, recommend getting insurance on your tires. But yeah, so they're very, careful about OSHA standards because they can get caught. Additional work, just like we talked about before, you're not supposed to ask the builder, or well, you can't ask the builder to supply your own materials. Normally they're going to say no, but you're also asked not to negotiate additional work from the subcontractors. Sometimes that happens. Just, if you're interested in an electrician later, just try not to let the builder know that you're asking about it, but you're not supposed to negotiate additional work from the builder suppliers. Change orders is a big thing with builders because sometimes buyers have made their selections, they've signed off, construction has begun, and maybe you've decided, oh, I'd really like to add that pot filler, or I'd really like to change the color of this room. Sometimes it's too late. Sometimes they'll accept it. If it's accepted, normally they'll charge you a change order fee. It's non-refundable, and it's an additional fee added on to the change. So if you're going to pay for a change of a fan or a light fixture or a paint color, you're going to pay for that change, plus you're going to pay a processing fee. And that's only if it's accepted by the builder. Warranties and the inspections are different with new construction as well. So you have several warranties that are offered by the good builders. Okay. The Standard Association of Home Builders Limited Warranty. So here in Central Kentucky, we have the BIA. It's the Building Industry Association. It used to be called the Home Builders Association. So all the big builders belong to this group, this association. Most builders will provide you with a written 1-year builder warranty. What that means is at 1 year, you provide them a list. So around 11 months, you provide them a list of things that have gone wrong in the home during that year, because the house is going to settle. You're going to have some nail pops. Maybe a door's a little loose or a cabinet's a little loose. Provide them with a list, and their warranty department or their manager will come out and they'll repair those things. Now, the one little caveat to the builder warranty about repairing nail pops specifically is they don't repaint. So they will drywall and fix those spots, but they're not going to come back and paint them. So the reason being is because after a year, the paint may look a little different. So they don't want to paint the whole room over again. Okay. So just be aware that sometimes people get upset about that, but if you tell them ahead of time, they're not so upset. You remind them, hey, remember, they're not going to paint. Okay. Other warranties, not all builders offer the 210, but it's really nice when they do. The majority of them do, but the 210 warranty is a 2-year on the mechanicals, manufacturer mechanical stuff, and then a 10-year on the structure. So after that 2-year is up on the mechanicals, you do still have the warranties of, the HVAC from the HVAC company and things like that. You want to keep in check, but they will give you all that stuff at closing. It'll be a huge packet of stuff for warranties. Okay, so all this needs to be written in. So basically, when you write a contract with a builder, I would just say, hey, are you backed by the BIA? And do you offer a 1-year and a 210? And they'll know what you're asking. Wood destroying insect infestation. So yes.
I wanted to go back one step. The only reason I want to ask you something.
Okay.
In the structure part, what exactly do they do to fix all the structure part?
So I haven't had a lot of structural questions, to be honest with you. I can't see who this is. I'm sorry, but the structure is going to be backed So I would have say that what they would do is they would have a structural engineer come in to see what kind of issues there might be to go in and support and fix that. So if it's on a slab, honestly, I mean, that would have to be up to the structural engineer to come in and decide if there is a structural issue and how that's to be fixed.
Okay. And then if the structural part would cause the shift in a lot of the drywall and such, would they be responsible for repairing that, or how does that fall under the warranty of that?
Honestly, I would have to read their specific builder warranty, but I would say yes, they would then have to come in and repair. I would request them to repair everything that's caused by the structural imperfection. 100%.
Natalie, do you mind if I chime in? It's
Sure.
Christy.
Sure.
I had a ball home situation about 12 years ago where the
Can't hear you, Christy.
Yeah, I lost her too.
She might type it in the text. It looks like she's muted, actually.
yeah,
Yeah,
can you hear me
I-
now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, I had to disconnect from Wi-Fi. It was messing me up. But what I was going to say is I had a situation with the ball homes where the ceiling and the wall separated. It was a
Ooh.
vaulted ceiling, and there was probably a 8 or 10 inch gap between those two things.
Wow.
Ball came and Ball had a structural engineer come in, and they fixed it. It came back the next year, like 12
Wow.
months later. It came back again. At that point, they offered the buyer to buy her house back, or they offered another fix. But if they fixed it again and it came back again, they were not coming back.
They were done.
So they
Did
were
they
done. No, she didn't sell. She kept it. They fixed it again. It never
Mhm.
happened again. And she made good profit on it when it sold. But I'm just saying that 210 warranty, that buyer backed by the BIA, is huge. There's a lot of builders that fell out of the market 8 or 10 years ago and left people holding the bag. So it's really important to make sure that you're selling to a builder that's strong. And that's all I'll say.
So as Christy's saying, very important. The last builder that myself and the girls represented did not offer the 210 warranty, which we thought was crazy because that's all we were used to seeing. So Christy's example, there you go. Now, if they didn't offer a 210 warranty and there was a structural issue, I'd still bring in a structural engineer, and then you might have to get into some kind of litigation, talk to an attorney about it, because that's a big deal, obviously.
So the 210 warranty and then the warranty with the BIA are two total.
They're backed by the BIA, yes.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Christy. Good example. Wood destroying organisms, insect infestation that we have on our regular contract, I always say, you got to have it. It's a cheap inspection. You got to have it. With new construction, the builder by code has to pre-treat the soil. Okay. Now, Christy might want to chime in again, because you're not treating the house, you're treating the soil. I don't know how long that lasts, but most people don't test for termites because they know the soil's been pre-treated. But that's one thing that's a little bit different. If you do have a FHA, VA buyer, you have to present that document to the lender for proof. Now, going to inspections, I see about 50-50 people having inspections on new construction versus not. I always mark box D and not box E unless they specifically tell me to, because you're writing this offer, this contract, 10 to 12 months prior to closing. Maybe you're going to change your mind. Okay. So I always mark D. They're not going to say you can't have an inspection. So always mark D. And then if you change your mind at toward closing, you don't have to have it. But they, sometimes find things. A lot of times the things that the inspector finds are already on the builder's what they call the punch list. But if it makes you feel better to have a third party come in, you're absolutely allowed to do that. And they ask that you do it around the time that the certificate of occupancy is offered to the builder, meaning okay, the house is complete by our standards, by the city standards, you can move in. They call it the CO. So just let you in on that. They usually don't use the whole word. So that's what the CO is. So that's the city saying the house is done. So the inspector should come in and it should be nearly perfect, right? It's new construction, but they usually find a thing or two that's wrong. Hopefully not much. Within 48 hours, this is the final walk. You will have the punch list walk, what we call the punch list walk, or the blue tape walk with the builder. That's going to be within about a week before closing. You go through with a thing of painter's tape and you mark. It's the only time you'll be able to do this. You'll mark the walls for any imperfection. You'll mark any imperfection that you see in the home, and then the warranty people or whoever's in charge of that will come back through and touch up the paint, or tighten the door here, the handle here, and then anything that's not complete after that will get added to their punch list. So, and then everyone signs off on that they can come back after closing and fix anything that was remaining, because maybe a supplier might be backed up or something like that.
Where do you usually put that in writing?
They usually have their own form, or if they don't, I would do an addendum, just a blank addendum to the purchase contract, and have them and the buyer sign off on it. And usually I'll put a time frame in that as well, like to be completed within 30 days.
Can I jump in one more time? I'm trying not to say much because it's your class.
Yes.
But this leads me to a document issue. And I'm glad you brought it up because this is an issue sometimes when you go to closing and you have a new construction contract and you do the punch. A lot of people don't want to sign that final walkthrough because there are items that are what they call surviving the closing. If you have a new construction contract and you have a punch item list that needs to be completed, that will take place of the final walkthrough. We just have to know as an office that you took the buyer through and you did that final walkthrough. Although it's not our final walkthrough, it's a punch list item walkthrough. And that cures the need for the final walkthrough that's in our forms.
Yes.
Is it possible to add the punch list items as surviving the closing on that final walkthrough form?
On our final walkthrough
Like
form?
on the inspection agreement form.
The
Blank box.
I've used that.
Right. These items are to survive closing.
I've used that. Yep.
Okay.
Good. Yeah. Yep. And I've used, just like Christy's saying, I've used just with the last builder, we had our own, final punch list walk, and they accept that for. So either way, but yeah, if you want to do it that way, whatever makes you feel more covered, I would do it that way. But yeah, as an office that, Kim will say, no, we need this, which is awesome. They will accept that builder walk for the final. This is just some extra, I try to include everything on the actual offer to purchase for new construction. Talks about trees. They try to keep the trees they're on the lot that you're building on. If they can't, they'll remove them. It goes back and says materials and fixtures supplied by the buyer aren't warranted, so that it reiterates that I said earlier. Talks about seller disclosure if it's not if there's no written warranty. And then this is just about the law stuff. You haven't probably seen the NORA Act since you took your real estate test. It's the Notice and Opportunity to Repair Act. This comes into play when it comes to new construction. And I can rattle off a couple of things right off the top of my head where buyers have had issues with the way their house is being built. And they take that issue to the builder. And if the builder doesn't necessarily right away want to, oh yeah, I'll fix that right now, that might go into the Notice and Opportunity to Repair Act. So where you have to provide them with written notice, this is my issue, and it outlines here the steps that you need to take. So it's basically going into mitigation, but the construction side of that. Okay. And then you can take it all the way to litigation if need be, just like you can in the regular offer to purchase. But yeah, you probably haven't seen that word since you took your real estate exam. Unusual excavation or grading. This is actually more important than you might think. Sometimes when, and Christy and I were talking about this with a lot that I closed on end of last year. And it can even happen in neighborhoods. we have a lot of rock in this area. Rock is very expensive to remove, can be. Sometimes they call it peck rock or something like that, that it just comes right out. But sometimes it's really, really thick, really deep. And you've heard those machines that are, that's what they're doing. They're taking that rock out. So that's unusual excavation, and it can be very costly. So make sure, especially if you're doing a custom build with someone, that you ask about this. You ask about, this isn't in here, but you ask about electrical, plumbing, is it already ran, things like that. And this is kind of off the subject, but if you are, a lot of times we'll get calls from people who, want to buy a lot out in the middle of nowhere. It's $50,000. I'll buy a ranch, I'll build a ranch on a basement. My budget's $250,000. It's not going to happen because you're out in the middle of nowhere. There's no plumbing. There's no driveway. There's no electrical, things like that. That costs a lot of money if it's not already out there. Okay. Disclosures, school square footage, stay the same. Plat, you can usually find it on the PVA, sometimes not. But if you can't find it, leave it blank.
I have a question real quick, just going back to the last with the excavation. So say I've got a client that wants to buy something rural and they want to know how much it does cost to have those lines run. Who do I direct them to talk to?
If it's in Lexington or Kentucky Utilities.
Okay. So just
or Bluegrass.
Putting the line in, so
yeah, I contacted Bluegrass Energy, I think it was, for Nicholasville. And yeah, they told me exactly that they lay a certain amount of footage for free. And then anything after that is so many dollars per foot.
Thank you.
Okay. If you can't find it on the PVA, just leave it blank, or you can ask the builder. A lot of times the builder will have all that in their, mostly they have that in their office on file. Okay, so property boundary. In the event that the sales agent has sold your client, a house on a lot and it doesn't fit, it happens fairly often, actually. Either they didn't know, or maybe the builder told them the wrong thing. You'll have the option to move to a different lot, or you can receive your advance back. But it is frequent that this happens. So it's another thing, say, hey, my client is interested in this plan and this plan. What lots will it fit on? Because maybe they wanted this plan on a basement, but they don't have any basement lots. Or, so making sure the lot fits is important. Also, you can ask the builder's representative, can you put the plan on the lot and let me see how much backyard I've got? Well, they should be able to do that for you as well. And then at the end, it says, you understand that the vacant land in the subdivision near the construction may not always remain vacant. It might be developed, which happens a lot. Disclosures continued again with the subdivision restrictions. The builder should have that information. I couldn't find it on the PVA. I don't know if Christy wants to chime in about that, but normally I just leave it blank. Homeowners Association, add that in. Agency disclosure, I did add in that a lot of the time the builders have a license. So make sure when you're writing this up, the other agent might put it in there for you, but a lot of times the builders are licensed. And then title insurance is still the same. 18 and 19 in the offer to purchase is the same acknowledgement for the licensee's fees and exchange the 1031. Closing and title, we go back and put the same thing that I had earlier in the contract. So 10 months post final selections. And then the builder will let you know when there's 30 to 60 days out. So that way you can tell the lender, hey lender, we're 30 to 60 days out. You need to lock that loan, lock that rate. So buyer's going to want to know, when am I going to close? When am I going to close? When am I going to close? They're not going to know until they're about 30 days out, maybe 60. Okay. Risk of loss is different. So risk of loss, the whole thing remains with the builder until possession's delivered. And then the addenda that I always add, I add the builder addendum. It could be a lot addendum. It could be just the builder's own contract. A lot of times the builder's contract will say all of this stuff plus their own stuff. The standard features that come with the house, the structural selections that come with what you've chosen, the floor plan handout, and the plat. And I would have the buyer and builder initial all of these, initial/sign all of these. Standard features, you should see that is one of the first things that you see when you talk to a builder, because you're going to want to be able to tell your client, well, what's standard in this house? Because they're going to have a model home that has a lot of upgrades in it. So your buyer is going to need to know that, okay, they see that the base price is $250,000 online, and they walk into that floor plan, but the floor plan's decked out in granite and all kinds of upgraded light fixtures and plumbing and things like that. And so it ends up being $50,000 more. Okay. So a lot of times the basic for Ball is rolled vinyl, it's laminate countertops, it's, the basic cabinets. If you want painted cabinets, that's more expensive. So I would say for a Ball home, anything like that, you're going to upgrade $25,000 at least, typically. So just make sure your client's aware of that, and they won't be so sticker shocked.
They still are.
Yeah, they still are. They're
still
still mad. They're still mad. And they say, oh, everything's an upgrade, like pools on the cabinets. That's an upgrade. It's, yeah. If you go with the more custom builders, they include granite, and some LVP, which is luxury vinyl plank. It's the new and improved laminate that everyone used to put in. They'll include that. But if you go for like a pretty basic builder, it's basic stuff. So, yeah, handle pulls send some people over the edge. I'm done. But, and then this is just the remainder of the end of the contract, other terms and conditions, heirs, successors, and assigns, assignment, contract interpretation, fair housing. Default has a second section to it that's pretty self-explanatory and TRID. And then I just added some additional things in here. Builder financing during construction. I kind of mentioned that already. If you're doing a custom build, you'll need to work with a builder or a lender that knows how to send payments, and the builder can work directly with the lender. That's why it's in that why it's in the contract that they can speak to the lender. Builders a lot of times will take contingencies to sell. So right now we're not seeing that hardly at all, but they'll take those. I talked about lot fit, talked about standard features. You'll have a pre-construction meeting with the builder once everything's signed off on. So should have a big printout of your plans. If you've made any changes, all that should be on there. You'll need to go over it in really good detail to make sure it looks right, because they're going to build off that plan. So they'll start with a marketing plan they'll show you, and then they'll tweak it to how you want it and add the different things that you've added in, and you'll sign off on that. So you'll need to make sure everything from which way the door swings to, the light fixture or the can lights, where those are located. You'll need to make sure everything like that is right. Now, when it comes to outlets and whatnot, a lot of times when you do your pre-drywall walk, they'll let you move outlets around because they're getting ready to do electrical before the pre-drywall. So you'll walk around with the person, the GM or whoever's managing your job, and point to where you want the TV outlet to be, where you want your, they'll have to have a certain amount of plugs for code, but where you want, special ones to be and things like that. Construction begins after final sign off, and then the city will do, whatever city you're building in, they'll do an electrical inspection, a plumbing inspection, and then the CO, the certificate of occupancy. So that's why sometimes people feel like they don't need to have a home inspection. And this is just an example of what a selection sheet looks like. This is one of the last builders that we represented. This is showing you the structural features, and then how we came to the price for the contract. So the base price of this plan was $314,000 was, and you could see what elevation means, what the front of the house looks like. So how much stone, brick, how much siding, some dormers and whatnot. which elevation they chose. They added in another room and a covered patio. They added in a study. They added some different things in the master bath, and that came out to the 353,260. So when someone says elevation, they're talking about what the front of it looks like. No one in the world says more real estate than Remax.
Yay.
All right. If anybody has any questions, please let me know.
Let's see here. I don't see anything in the chat right now, but if you do have a question, throw it in the chat or just unmute yourself and ask.
This is great. Thank you, Natalie.
You're welcome. And I can email this. I'll take out the extra stuff and email it to anybody if you want it.
I have a question.
Mhm.
For the custom people. Starting with the question. Oh, it's Christy.
Sorry, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Where's it at? Is the camera on you there? Okay.
Okay,
You don't need the camera on you, Christy.
she wants to be seen.
So this is about new construction contracts. Sorry, I'm speaking over you. I hope that's okay.
That's fine.
But a lot of questions may be, how do you get into this side of the business?
Oh.
See? Oh, everybody
Oh.
wants to know. And what are perks of it?
Mm-hmm.
And what are things that you need to be cautious of?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well,
I have
Her-
questions too.
yeah.
Oh, were you pulling up something else, Diana? I'm sorry.
Well, Tanya was about to ask me a question,
Oh,
but
I'm
you
sorry.
know, you
I just
interrupted. I want to go back to show you perks. Perks of new construction are you get a lot of leads. I've sold a lot of homes from people calling me for new construction and they can't afford it. Oh, so I take them somewhere else. The house that you said I saw in Williams, I got them from new construction. Yep, I did. And now I'm selling their house. So that's 2 transactions from a builder lead.
Are they moving across the way to the new stuff?
No, they're getting divorced. But it's fun, working with your team and you go and sit in a model. It gives you time to work on things. You learn a new trade. Basically, I think the leads are probably my number one fun thing. Seeing what the new trends are, that's fun. Downside, let's look at my years here. Beazer Homes, Andover Construction, James Monroe. No more than 3, right? After that, you kind of need a break. It's demanding a lot of times. The builders are demanding. The ones, if you work for ones that do a lot of production, you have a lot of meetings, a lot of time spent. But if you're getting into the industry and whatnot, I think it's a great way to build business. So I would talk to people that represent builders and ask if you can tag along and ask if you can, watch what they do and how much effort they put into it and how much time it takes. And maybe if you could, jump on and help with some. But yeah, we've really enjoyed the construction that we've done. But yeah,
What was your open house schedule?
It depends on what builder I work for. The reason that I left Andover is they require me to do open houses, I think every single weekend. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I had a model, and my husband and I got pregnant with my first child and decided I didn't want to do that. Like I didn't want to be forced to be away from my family, all those times. So it just, whatever fits your schedule. The others I would do like a weekend day and then a day during the week. And then we'd have so it was a pretty, heavy schedule, I would say.
When you worked with a team with the other girls, did you all take turns with the open houses, or did you do?
We did, but we still had, every other weekend, we'd still do a weekend and we'd still have days during the week. Yeah. So, it just depends on how big the builder is and what they require. Some builders are, want more than others. So, but I had a builder that we started and they said, I don't think open houses work. I don't want you to do open houses. And then we ended up having to have the model open 6 days a week. So sometimes they change their mind too. So
Just like
those buyers do.
Yeah, just like the buyers do. So
Change fee.
Oh, good one.
should have done that. Should have done that. So, you know, it's good to have upfront expectations with the, you know, that have the builder tell you, but it's a good way to, you know, really know something that a lot of people don't know. And yeah, so Tony, what's your question? This was custom.
Custom, yeah. So on the standard features structural selections, what if you have a builder? And did you prepare any of that, or did you do a lot of paperwork preparing that if it's a new builder?
If it's a new builder, yes. So we participated in a lot of that.
Okay.
Yeah. A lot of like, this is what you're going to need
Right.
kind of thing.
It's
Like,
extra.
because they don't, you know, sometimes they don't know. Yeah.
Right.
They have no idea. So that's why I think, you know, you see, I was talking about Gina. Were you there the whole time? I was talking about Gina's new builder that she's representing, Dalamar, and their contract's 52 pages because they're covering everything that they can cover, making sure that they're covered.
Right. Another question, and so when they do a custom build, let's say the bank, they're doing 4 draws.
Mm-hmm.
I was asked this by my buyer representing the builder as well. So he's like, well, if they go over 6 months, and he's a good builder, they can build a house 6 months. I mean, I've seen their custom builds, awesome homes.
Yeah.
So if it goes over the 6 months, he said, well, do they have to pay my interest? No, we're not paying. You know, so it's kind of that thing too, and I can see his point, but that was a question.
Yeah.
You know, they're doing 4 draws, so he's doing interest only.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
You know, he could put that into his contract if he wanted to, because one of the builders, he had us put into in his contract, additional to this new construction contract, he had us put in that the appraisal only needed to come in for the base price.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. So, and the buyer signed it, you know, I go over it, I read it because it's his contract. He gets to do what he wants to do. Buyer, builder saying that it only has to come in for this much. So if you upgrade $100,000 and it doesn't come in, you can't get out.
I've seen that on.
Mm-hmm. So he could, you know, say a percentage of that is to be paid by the buyer, or, you know, I don't know how much interest it is. And
It's not.
yeah,
Not real too long. I mean, it's an interest only payment. So
Mhm. It's not too much. But that being
it's
said,
not. No, well,
yeah,
I guess it's
some-
500,000 on the home.
some builders are, you know, like to pinch pennies too. That's not the only time I've heard something like that. So that are very specific on, you know, another builder we had, they provided the deed. So their attorney saved them a little bit of money. So the buyer's attorney didn't provide the deed. They provided. So, yeah. Yep. Anybody else? Christy, any more awesome comments?
I got a lot.
You got a
I got
lot.
a lot of questions.
Yeah.
But-
But on the standard
trying.
features,
Yeah, sorry.
I'll be good on
No,
that.
you're good.
The standard features, that has to go with any builder contract, right?
Mhm.
And okay.
I would put it with any, because I mean, if they change, it is written in the contract. I might have skipped over that part, that it states that if there is a material that is back ordered or a material that is, you know, unable to be obtained, the builder can substitute it for an equal or greater
Okay,
level
yeah,
of
right.
that. So that is something that may not be on the standard features that comes into play, but they should let the buyer know, hey, that's going to be, I can't get that, but I'm going to put this in, or this level
Right.
greater. But I would always include that, just make sure everybody's on the same page as what they're getting.
Only because she walked in and immediately insurance popped into my head. If you have, like in the situation where you were talking about, the buyer would buy upgrades or add on to the base price of the house.
Mhm.
Has there ever been a situation in which something happened, like the house got struck by lightning or the house burned down? If I'm investing or I have an equitable interest in a contract
Mhm.
where I've put this $60,000 down on this
Mhm.
house or whatever,
Mhm.
is there anything in the typical or in this contract that says, hey, if this house burns down, the builder's insurance will cover
Mhm.
everything
Yes, we went over it.
Up to an extreme amount of upgrades, I guess is what my question is. I'm sure the insurance part is in there, but
Actually, I don't think, I mean, I know builder holds liability until they close versus the resale where it's 10% or not. I don't know that it says anything in there about if, but
because if it's a day before closing, something happens, it
Right.
burns down and you've got an obscene amount
of money down.
or upgrades in it, and it doesn't appraise for that. That makes me curious to think.
Well, a lot of times if you put an obscene amount of, and this isn't in this contract, but it's probably going to be in a lot of the builder contracts. If you put an obscene amount of money down, they'll require a percentage of that in another cash advance. Some builders require all of it, all upgrades as a cash advance. And then it's probably written in there that this is non-refundable.
So if it burns down,
but if it burns down, I'm not sure.
And the house isn't insured for the amount that you've
That's a good question.
That actually
That would be on the builder.
But don't all
Yeah,
builders
we had
require
a fire break out in one of
insurance?
our houses out in Westland. I mean, it was ages ago.
Mhm.
Westland was being built out. And my husband had to get this company had to cover it.
Yeah.
It was sold.
Carry builder's risk, but some people will get insurance if their house is vacant and they've already closed, but they've not moved in yet. So they'll go ahead and get insurance on it, and so it covers it while it's still there, or while it's still being worked on, even though they don't live there yet.
I guess that's the insurance that the builder has on the property.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that, but a lot of times people will say, okay, if you upgrade more than this amount, you got to pay 25% of that in cash or all.
And the cash advance typically all goes back to the buyer.
It does. It goes back to the buyer at closing. It's just like your down payment. Yeah.
Interesting. Did I cut you off a second ago, Tanya?
No, for instance, if you've got one and they're paying 100,000 down, non-refundable. There's a clause in there about financing. If they don't get it locked in. Well, the builder, they're asking, well, it's non-refundable. Should you check with the bank to make sure that's locked in before they move dirt? I was asked that. So
I would.
I mean, they're approved,
Yeah.
timeline.
Yeah, I would make sure, I would talk to the lender and make sure, because that's not contingent upon financing. The rate lock is not. Everything else, like if they lost their job and they literally now don't, qualify, that is contingent, but their rate lock is not contingent if that's on them. So I would.
Right, but so what the builders wanted to specify, they're paying $100,000 down, and it's a very, very custom. And he's like, well, this is not refundable regardless of whatever. So those other things don't come into play, like financing. I mean, they're approved, but when that clause, because that advance is going to the builder. And if they're adamant, this is non-refundable.
I mean, is he using this
It's
LBAR?
going toward okay. It's the LBAR contract, and it's of course going toward the purchase.
Right. I mean, if they lost their job and they don't qualify for that financing anymore, they get that money back.
See, that's what he's saying, that this is the scenario, like, well, we start moving dirt and start this custom home, he wants to they want to specify that this money, they get to keep it.
That's, I'm going to defer to Christy, because that's what if he wants to be covered like that, then I would say he needs to add something else in.
Right. To add additional.
Because the way this reads, they get that money back.
Right. Okay. That's what kind of.
Yeah. Like I'm taking on the liability of starting now.
Yeah. So
it's a very custom. I mean, they do. Okay. We have people bring the plans in, and then we've got a few.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Natalie.
You're welcome.
I appreciate you doing this. I'm so